The Nairi has been clear in his mind that his decision to make concessions has been a difficult one, but added that, nonetheless, guided by ancestral wisdom, commitment to peace, and respect for Your Majesty's tireless efforts, I have chosen the path of conciliation, not out of weakness, but as a testament to Mampurugu's strength, dignity, and unwavering commitment to the well-being of all communities in the Bawku traditional area. I had been inspired by the desire and commitment of my brother, the Nairi, to bring a peaceful end to the conflict in Bawku and its environs, and to define the best arrangements to accommodate all the different tribes and communities in the area. The Nairi outlined a set of proposals which form the basis of engagement that I have had with both sides, with the hope of finding a common ground. If a common ground emerged, it would enable them to reach an amicable resolution. With this historical understanding, I have impressed upon the Bawku Naba Sigri Abugrabu Azoga to acknowledge that at one time or another, the Nairi exercised traditional authority over the area that now constitute the Bawku traditional area. I concede that colonization by the British might have played a role in the establishment of the chieftaincy institution across the area that now makes up the Kusao Traditional Council. Records has it that at various times, the Nairi enskinned the Bawku Naba, and the latter then enskinned the various sub-chiefs in the Bawku traditional area. It is this state of affairs that the Kusasi challenged since 1957 until PNDC Law 75 was passed in 1983. The passage of PNDC Law 75 defines the resolution of the situation in Bawku. I have as well impressed upon my brother, the Nairi, that current realities make it more pragmatic that we accept Kusasi rule over the area. With the passage of PNDC Law 75, the coming into force of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, and the ruling of the Supreme Court in Alhaji Ibrahim Adam Zambego versus Aninchema Abugrago and Attorney General, it will be untenable for anyone to hold that Sigri Abugrabu Azoka is not the Bawku Naba and exercises jurisdiction over the entire Kusasi area. The Supreme Court shuts the doors to anyone seeking to have the matter revisited. It is important to note that PNDC Law 75 was repealed alongside several laws and enactments by the Statute Law Revision Act 1996, Act 516. The long title of the Statute Law Revision Act 1996, Act 516, which repealed the Chieftaincy Restoration Statutes of Chiefs, later Chiefs Law 1983, PNDC Law 75, among other laws and enactments as indicated above, provides as follows: an act to repeal certain statutes that are no longer applicable or have become spent. It therefore appears that the Chieftaincy Restoration Statutes of Chiefs Law 1983, PNDC Law 75, just like the other laws and enactments that were repealed by Act 316, were repealed because they had performed the purpose for which they were enacted and thus had become spent. Its repeal, therefore, did not create a vacuum, just like the other laws and enactments repealed with it. Rather, the status quo at the time of the repeal of PNDC Law 75 by Act 516 was to be maintained. In response to the Nairi's terms of concessions, in spite of the clarity of the law on the matter, I still continue to engage my brother, the Nairi, on the terms of concessions presented by him to me. Essentially, he asked for a number of towns in the Kusasi area to be transferred to him to enskin. The impression created was that those towns would prefer to be under the Nairi essentially. The request was to have some of the towns brought under the jurisdiction of the Nairi. I decided to engage the chiefs of those towns. After meeting the various chiefs of the towns and communities affected by the withdrawal of recognition following the implementation of the Governor General's White Paper in 1957 on the recommendations of the Afari Committee, the withdrawal of the recognition occasioned by the NLC Decree 112 and PNDC Law 75, I have come to the conclusion that there has been significant reconciliation among the various Kusasis and Mampurusis in all the other towns. Bawku was mentioned in the proposed terms of settlement of the Nairi as one of the towns that Mampurusi the Mamprisi wanted to be given to the Nairi. Unfortunately, the law as it stands now makes Asigri Aburagu Asoka the lawful chief of Bawku, and so it is impossible legally to do any such thing in this mediation exercise. On the question of Bawku town, I have taken the position that the established tradition since 1931 thereabout is that the person who is Bawku Naba has the entire Kusasi area. By law and the declarations of the Supreme Court of Ghana, Asigri Aburagu Azoka is the Bawku Naba, and there cannot be any rival residing in Bawku claiming otherwise. I have impressed upon my brother the Nairi to accept that recognition by law in appreciation of the enduring brotherhood that has existed between our two kingdoms in order to ensure lasting peace and eliminate the national and international security threats that my brother himself is so concerned about. I have been candid with my brother the Nairi that the purported enskinment of Mr. Seydou Abagari as Bawku Naba cannot stand. I believe my brother the Nairi has come to terms with the difficulties that will pose to achieving lasting peace, which he desires. I have, from the inception, restrained both governments from effecting the arrest of Mr. Seydou Abagari out of respect for my brother the Nairi. The final resolution of the Bawku matters requires that Mr. Seydou Abagari be recalled to Nalerigu by the Nairi to be reassigned to play another traditional role at the palace of the Nairi assisted by the state. Alternatively, he may choose to stay in Bawku as an ordinary citizen of the community, but not to pose as Bawku Naba. Mr. President, I recommend that my brother the Nairi accepts the laws as presently constituting Asigri Aburagu Azoka as the chief of Bawku and head chief of the Kusasi traditional area. We chiefs, no matter how exalted, do not live above the Constitution of Ghana and the laws duly enacted and affirmed by the courts. Accordingly, the laws which recognizes Asigri Aburagu Azoka must be enforced by the government of the Republic of Ghana until changed in accordance with the 1992 Constitution or reviewed by the Supreme Court of Ghana. The government must enforce the laws and deal sternly with any person challenging the lawful authority of the Aburagu Azoka. This is critical to the restoration and maintenance of peace in Kusasi traditional area. I wish to thank you, Mr. President, and your predecessor for reposing such confidence in me and tasking me with the mediation of this conflict with a view to finding a lasting solution. I also want to thank the Nairi and the Bawku Naba for their efforts relative to this mediation process. The various chiefs or heads of various communities whom I met in the area who also participated in this endeavor deserve positive commendation. I have come to the conclusion that the path to a lasting resolution coincides with the enforcement of the current position of the law by the laws of Ghana and by the Constitution enacted in 1992 and by the position of the Supreme Court that the matter should never be litigated before it again. Asigri Aburagu Azoka is the lawful chief of Bawku and the paramount chief of Kusasi traditional area. He has been a member of the National House of Chiefs for about 40 years. He has been duly gazetted. His right to rule should not be disturbed, save through a judicial and constitutional recognized process, and which, as already indicated, appears, if any, a review of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Ghana stated herein. If the pronouncement of the Supreme Court appears not clear enough, remedy may be sought, if available, for clarification of the same by the Supreme Court. Either way, Bawku and its environs will be assured of sustainable and enduring peace. Mr. President, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, and then we nominate some lawyers from their side, from each side, and others, and we form a committee to go through that. Then we start a reconciliation process. Whilst talking to them, I realized also that arms and everything were there. And all those, I spoke to them. I think we can find a way to get them to go and find a safe place for them to go and leave it. Maybe an appeasement of some 500, go and not by the government, by the National Peace Council, myself and some people, we can do that also. That I tested the pause and I believe it can be done. So now it's up to you to implement what I have said, Mr. President. I wanted to read that because I didn't want it to come from you, for them to charge you that you've changed the report. So.
Please be seated, please. Shall we please give His Royal Majesty another big round of applause?
I just want to clarify. My son Cletus Avoka is here because he has to be very careful in what pronouncements he made publicly. It is not right. It's a dicey situation. We are all trying to make amends and get people to move together as brothers and sisters. It looks like he's making various pronouncements and all that, which wouldn't endure to the peace that we want. So please, I wanted to, if he was here, I was going to tell him, but the message will get to I invite him and tell him that we've gotten to a state where we all have to find peace. Then Bokunaba is the Bokunaba. The law is on his side. We agree to that. But you don't make pronouncements on radio and everywhere that will incense the other side. Where we have reached is more like reconciliation. The Nairi accepts, we have to get them all together. At a point, they are all married. When I had the reconciliation, one is saying, I was drinking Pito with you across the aisle. Looking from the Kusasi side, talking to the Mamprusi mother, were we not drinking Pito together? And Mahama, my son Mahama Yaga here, father and mother Kusasi and Mamprusi, isn't it? So how can they fight? So please, that, Mr. President, I'm sorry, I just wanted to explain.